Judge Puccinelli, another question from Elko.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jason from Spring Creek. And referring to Map via Ohio, if a school official has your phone and they find evidence such as texting, can it still be used against you?
Judge Simon, you wish to respond to that? Christie?
I'd rather have Judge Steinheimer do it. She's more senior to me than on the bench. So I'll throw it to Reno.
That's an interesting comment, Mr. Puccinelli, Judge Puccinelli, about being senior. Thank you.
Your panel members respond to the panel members respond to the question?
Yes. Judge Higgins?
The images found on the phone can be used. In a criminal context, there would be the question of whether there was a Fourth Amendment violation by finding that, whether a police officer is the one that searched it. If it's a non-police officer finding evidence of a crime, sometimes there aren't Fourth Amendment issues. And the other question would be whether you had any reasonable expectation of privacy in that, and as a juvenile, whether some of those issues apply to you at all. So there'd be a whole series of questions that would have to be asked and answered. And I'll give you the attorney answer and say maybe it could be used if they were found. I'm sure your public defender would work hard to avoid that if at all possible, but there's a lot of questions there that have to be answered.
We have a question from Las Vegas.
I'm Jaden Montero from Green Valley High School. It seems that a lot of us who are commenting from Green Valley come from kind of the same, I guess, background from our school as, and a lot of us are in debate and a lot of us are in the IB program. But something that I think is important to note is that a lot of the panel has been using a language like the students need to understand, or that we need to understand just how important our actions are, that we're not anonymous. And although I would agree with that, I think that for a lot of kids, like, it's hard for us to just say they should understand or we should understand, because obviously the kids have the same viewpoint that adults need to understand. And I think that a very effective approach that we can take together is to help kids realize that this law is not only, there's not only consequences for kids that are sexting or that are cyberbullying. I think that we need to let kids realize that we're not all for consequences. A lot of the laws that we have passed or are proposing are actually there to protect the kids in the first place. And I think that by providing the dichotomy of we're protecting you, we're not just giving you consequences, I think that's a more effective approach to letting our kids know and for actually providing a reason why sexting or cyberbullying is bad in the first place.
Before we transition into the next section of our discussion here today, I did want to toss out one question that came across our Twitter line. The question is, what careers or jobs can be affected by a sexting conviction or cyberbullying conviction? Government jobs, teachers?
School district job.
School district job, casino worker?
Law enforcement, related employment?
Law enforcement, lawyer, doctor, anything along those lines. Nurses, all of it. All the judges.
In other words, widespread effect of conviction or issue relating to the subjects that we're talking about here today. Judge Boyd.
Just in that light, some youth think that they're being charged as a juvenile, that's going to go away. But even though the records are automatically sealed in most cases at 21, those records still exist. And for certain purposes, they can be accessed. And you might find yourself in a situation where, even though they've been sealed, you are having to have those released in order to get a job or to be employed by a certain agency. So even though the common belief is that it goes away when you turn 21, it's still there, just as a reminder. But lastly, Justice Seda, you asked a question when we first started that's never been answered yet. Because you started this off with asking the question, is it a court problem or is it a school problem? And it's clear to me, sitting through this for almost the last 2 hours, that it's both. Because the school has a duty to educate, and that includes behavior. The court, the judicial system, and more particularly the juvenile system, they have a duty to educate the educators on what the court system, the juvenile system is seeing and what it's doing with these kind of cases and the behavior that's being exhibited and how that is being dealt with in the juvenile system and in the criminal system. And our duty as the court, prosecutor, defense, the court itself as a whole, to work with, in partnership with education, to stay on top of this on a continued basis so they can do their job to educate the kids, and we can assist in that process. And I think this whole day, this proceeding in particular, is the byproduct of that relationship.
Justice Perigary, in Carson City, further comments on cyberbullying or sexting before we move on?
You know, something that strikes me, and I think something that the kids really need to be aware of, and it's really the essence of this. You know, a generation ago, we had different similar types of issues, and a generation ago it was streaking, if you remember that. And the things that the kids need to realize today, this isn't the sexting issue is not an innocent thing, and the most poignant point to make is kind of like a diamond, ironically, sexting is forever. Those images are out there, available, they're identifying, and they are forever. And they do have serious consequences, not just criminal consequences, but emotional consequences for all of those involved. You've got employment consequences, and that's a point that I think really boils down to is it's forever. And Collier, you got anything else you want to add?
Thank you, Chief. Mr. West.
I realize as we've been talking on this subject specifically is that what has been the root of this? Like, where did sexting come from? And I just think one of the points to make, and I think the students made this point really great, is that the media has objectified sex, and how the media is so pervasive in what young people, from TV, the internet, movies, everything in it, and how just in one generation how that has changed. I think students are more familiar and comfortable talking about sex today, but I don't think that that has translated into them becoming a bunch of perverts because those things are available. I think that all their points are well taken. I think they're familiar with it, and I think one of the things is, as adults, we're sort of, I don't know, those are uncomfortable areas, and so we think then, but they're a different generation, and so I think it's important, like Jaden's point was really well taken, that this shouldn't be a discussion just about consequences. It should be about using education to be in front of the issue and not be reactionary to the issue.
Most assuredly, part of the purpose of today's engagement is for us to hear from you so that we can use what students know to be true as we develop policies or law around those issues.